I've been talking a lot about summertime being a time that we try new things. We get in our new way of being and our new way of navigating through life, and we use trial and error, and we find out what works and what doesn't work. We find out what are new doorways and what may be repeats of old patterns. So we're learning a lot, and we're sorting out, and we're noticing things. And we need a way of kind of becoming aware and noticing what's going on. So, so what happens is when we notice something about ourselves, okay? Say I'm in an old pattern, okay? And so say I notice myself in the old pattern, okay? So if I want to, break that pattern or better yet, free myself from that pattern, there's a few things that are necessary, and there's a few things that maybe aren't as necessary as we may think. So what is necessary is that I see the pattern, okay? I see the truth, okay? And if there's feeling there, it is necessary that I feel. It's like if I indulge is too negative a word. If I'm in an old pattern, okay, and it brings an unfortunate or unwanted outcome, okay, then there may be a feeling there. And I do need to feel the feeling, in my opinion, and notice it and feel those. And so we're increasing the awareness, and we're feeling, what we feel when we're in the old pattern or in the new. Those things, in my opinion, are necessary, and that may be all that's necessary. Now, there's a third thing that often comes along with this, and it is what some people have been calling our story. I've also heard it called a commentary, and it's the part that says when I'm in my old pattern, or I make a mistake, okay, or whatever else, and then that's the see. I see it, which is good. I feel it, which is good. Ouch, that's not the outcome I wanted. I hurt someone's feelings. Feel it is good. Then the other part is the commentary that has to do with my belief system, okay, and it says, because I did that, I suck, or because I did that, I've now done a terrible thing, and now I'm feeling guilty, and now I'm feeling ashamed. Okay, that's all. And from where I'm sitting now, that's all things that we may experience, but it's kind of collateral. It's not needed, truly. Now, earlier in our lives, like I remember when I just kind of started my spiritual journey, okay, who I am was fused with my belief systems. In other words, I thought my belief systems were me. I thought that my commentary, okay, and my story, I thought I was my story. So that dialogue that was going on inside, I thought that's who I was, And then as I worked on that, I slowly started creating some separation. Like maybe that's my belief system, and maybe that's not really me. Okay. And as I've created that separation, and I think a lot of you that are watching this video are at a phase now that you have created some separation, and you can now see your belief system, and you can see that critical voice. It's also another really good word for it is the internalized parent, or the critical parent that because that's where we often pick those belief systems up from, right? They did the best they could, and but we may have, like I had a really strict father, so then I had this internalized parent that when I would make a mistake, one of his expressions is, Mike, you did a piss poor job, and it's like, and he was trying, to discipline me, but it became this strict internalized parent, and that became part of this commentary that I have. One of the best examples I've heard of the commentary or the story was by the spiritual teacher Ajashanti, and he kind of like compared it to like a news commentator or a sports commentator, like the color commentator of a sports team. So it's like there's the game that's going on, and then he's adding all this extra stuff in about the drama and the intrigue and the humor and the story and the cameras panning on the guy that just dropped the football, and like all that stuff is the commentary. And of course we're conditioned to kind of thrive on the commentary, the drama, if you will. It's kind of dramatic, it's kind of amplified, it's kind of larger than life, and we get so accustomed to us that it helps us feel alive. Okay. And it's also early on, it becomes part of our change process, right? So we have this third step. So we see the thing, we see the behavior, we see the behavioral pattern or whatever it is, we feel the behavioral pattern, and then we experience the commentary like, well, I really suck and I'm a really selfish person. And then that often will have a feeling, an additional feeling. I used to, I forget the word, I call it, reactionary feeling. I had a word for it in my book, but I can't think of it right now. So we get this bonus feeling, is what almost cognitive behavioral, CBT or cognitive behavioral therapy almost like is just managing these bonus feelings you get based on your commentary. So now that we are where we are, and you have now that you maybe realize that you are not your critical parent, you are not your story, and you are not this person that's having this commentary inside. Okay, and maybe my truth is that, if I have something that's observing that, then maybe I'm more what's observing the commentary than the commentary itself. Now that's just how I've kind of tease it out a little bit. So again, I'm creating separation between the commentary, the critical part of myself, and my true self. It's like, is this really me? And I'm teasing it out. And then when I make a change, like now when I make a change, I don't need to do the story or the commentary part. I may still habitually do it, okay, but I don't need to do it. So all I need to do is see myself in the old pattern, or if I'm doing trial and error, see myself make a mistake, kind of learn from it, feel it, and I can be on. And it's just like, oh, that didn't work. Okay, well, I guess I'll try something else. See, my story, I don't have the story that when I make a mistake, it's really bad. It's just like I have a new framework. You could even say a new story in a way. It's like I'm making a mistake, but that's how I learn. So there's no guilt, there's no shame. It just is like, yeah, I made a mistake. I won't do that again. I guess I'll try this next time. And there doesn't need to be the commentary. There doesn't need to be the story. And in other words, I don't need to beat myself up and then feel bad for learning. I mean, I'm like, we're learning, we're doing trial and error, we're seeing our thing, we're growing. This is all good stuff. Yet the critical part of me is telling me that, I'm this terrible person because I made this mistake, or I indulged in my pattern once again, so therefore I suck. So that's the invitation, is maybe our change process can have more compassion. Maybe it doesn't need to have the judgment and the criticism and the beating myself up and the paying penance for the things I've done. Maybe that isn't needed anymore. Maybe it can just be way simpler and way less complicated and dramatic. And I had to kind of wean myself off the drama, okay, and the guilt and the shame, which were bad, but I kind of I was like addicted to them in a way. I had to like kind of wean myself off from the larger than life amplified drama of my story, But now I still get caught in it from time to time. But since there's more separation, I can say, that's my story. I don't need to really go there. All I really need to do is I see the truth, I feel the truth, I'm learning what works and doesn't work. I'm good. So that is my video for this week. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you have an awesome week. And my invitation is to just at first, just notice, what is you really, and what is the commentary? What do you need to feel and know? And then what is the commentary? And is that really something you need to experience anymore? I will see you in a week.